Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala, and I'm coming to you from the Pacific Northwest, where I live with my partner, our two kitties, and my two horses. It's Friday, March 29th, which means I have a day off, and I'm walking out to feed the horses. I hope you can hear the morning bird song. It's about 6 a.m. Still dark. There's a moon. There, maybe that's kind of through the trees. It looks pretty full. It's finally not raining. So this video at the end will probably have some me grumbling about the rain because it was pretty intense this week. Hopefully it's going to dry out for the next several days. We have some plans. I'm going to have a lesson with Bragi today to continue his education on trailer training. Just a short pause to look at the creek. It's pretty full because of all the rain. And this is the upstream side. And there's the house. There's the barn. Lesson with Bragi. I have to go to town first. I'm getting a blood draw. I'm going to do some grocery shopping. After my lesson with Bragi, I am planning on going on a trail ride with a friend. And then Randy and I are going to do a little short bike trip. So I should have some interesting footage for you today. Or not today, next time, because this will go out probably before all of that happens. So, looking for the horses so I can feed them. I don't see, well, I think I see Odin because he's gray. And I'm going to get to feeding. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the knitting portion of my podcast. This part of my podcast probably won't be very long unless I get very chatty because I don't have any finished objects to show you. I do want to show you some of the modifications that I've made on some of the projects I'm working on that I'm looking at over here. And I will also talk about why this episode is called The Frogging Queen. So to start, I am wearing the Riverside Sweater, which some of you will recognize as a big frogging project. I got most of it done and then decided to frog it because I wanted it to be more brown than red. And the pattern was contrast color 2, which is one is the red. That was the dominant color, whereas the main color is supposed to be this brown, which is from a local sheep farmer, and it was spun here locally as well. So, as I was saying, I frogged, once I finished, I pretty much had it finished because this was a bottom-up sweater, and I decided to rip out from the bottom all the way up, basically up to where I split for sleeves, and then make the rest of this, here, let me show you. Make the rest of this more brown. So sorry for the palm of my hands. You'd think by now, after having been podcasting for, I think it's been almost 2 years now, that I would know some of these things. But be that as it may. All right, the first project I want to show you. It's a work in progress. I am getting very close to just working on the sleeves. This is the Calliope sweater. Let me show you the front. So it has this fairly long ribbed area. And then I'm just working on the bottom ribbing. My goal is for it to be about 11.5 inches between the armhole and the end. And I'm getting very close, like within a 1/2 inch. This is a hand-dyed yarn, fingering weight yarn held double with not held double, held with mohair. So the fingering weight yarn is the Fiddle Bits sock yarn from Ray Whiting, which is nativity.com. So this is the yarn. And then this is the mohair. And I don't remember where I got the mohair from, but you know, together they make this very pretty, pretty blue. So I am going to play some yarn chicken. I think the pattern for my size called for 3 skeins of yarn, but the stitch count for the size smaller calls for 2 skeins of yarn, and for the most part the stitch count is pretty similar. I suspect I'm going to end up with somewhat shorter sleeves. No, I know I'm going to end up with shorter sleeves. I am aiming for probably 3/4 length sleeves, and you can see from this pattern picture that the sleeves are quite long, and I don't need them that long. This is the Calliope pattern, and again, it is a free pattern, so I probably won't have this finished by the next episode, but I will be closer, that is for sure. Knitting these on size 7, US size 7 needles. I think they are a Knit Picks interchangeable set that I have. Size 7 is one of my favorite sizes to knit with, and some of the ribbing was in size 6, US size 6, Chowgu red lace. The bottom ribbing is not, and I'm not sure why, although I'm glad because I had to borrow those needles for this project. This is the Pacific Knits Cryptid cowl. So this is a double-sided cowl, and let me show you the Cryptid. So you can see the Bigfoot here. So this part was knit on US size 4. The yarn is a sport weight. Most of the yarn is a Knit Picks sport weight. This darker colored variegated yarn is Spin Cycle, and its sport weight is quite a bit lighter. So, speaking of frogging, and all of this was knit on size 4. So I started knitting this side. This is the Loch Ness Monster side of the cowl, which will be on the inside in this case, or the outside because it is reversible. I knitted on, and because the Knit Picks yarn is so much thicker, this part was just this Colorwork section. Let me show you without the needles in the way. It was a lot thicker and a lot more scrunched in, and I didn't like it. So I ripped it all out back to, in fact, you can see where I ripped out to because there's a little bit of a extra lavender color here. I ripped it all the way back out and re-knit it on the size Chowgu red lace size 6. So that is in part why I'm called the Frogging Queen. So not only this sweater that I almost completely frogged and re-knit, but this where I almost completely frogged the one side. So this is the pattern, Pacific Nitco Cryptid cowl. She is a local to me designer. She's a designer in Seattle, and I'm in, like I said in my introduction, I am in the Pacific Northwest, and actually north of Seattle by quite a ways. Not quite Canada though. That is that project. So the other one that I am working on, this is a bag made by my mom. So this is fabric came from Door County, Wisconsin, which is known for its cherries. They're delicious sweet and pie cherries. So she made this for me for Christmas. And this is a cowl, scarf. Sigrid scarf is what it's called. And this was in a kit that I received. This is what I call the legacy yarn. So this yarn came from the stash of a woman who needed to destash because she was moving to a memory care. Not somebody I know personally, but my partner's Aunt Gail, who is also a knitter, was invited to go through the stash, and she picked out a bunch of yarn for me, including a lot of sock yarn and then this kit. So it's going to be a really pretty scarf. I mean, I love all these colors. The yarn is a 50% acrylic and 50% wool. So since my family members, Ella Ray, my family members are allergic to wool, I get this for me. So this takes 2 skeins of yarn. I'm still on the first skein. So this is just kind of a project I work on whenever. It's not a terribly exciting pattern. It's a lot of twisted rib and purl and more rib and more purl. So a little bit meh, I think is what I'm trying to say. The kit also came with a hat, a broken rib hat that I have not cast on yet. So, and here is the yarn for that with the needles sticking out. So the kit's all ready. I took this to Texas. This is my new cast on for our trip to Texas that we just returned from last week. So this is my kind of traveling, like if I need to sit somewhere and just can't really, and wait and can't really pay attention to a pattern, that is the project I am taking. My 4th whip is from this book, 52 Weeks of Socks. You might remember from previous episode that I knitted the first pair of socks out of this, which were the intersection socks. These socks are called Mica, and it is a Colorwork sock. So, and here's the name of the pattern, Mica. I decided that I was going to use one of my Advent skeins from Legacy Knits, Legacy Fiber Arts, hand-dyed yarn, but there really wasn't enough contrast between the two. I think this is the Twinkle Toes colorway. So very pretty. The contrast color is lavender, and it just wasn't showing up. It was hard to read my knitting. So I frogged. So I had this Colorwork section started, and I frogged back to the beginning of it and grabbed a much more high contrast color. And I honestly don't remember where this came from. Yeah, I really don't know. But it has a very nice contrast to this yarn. Shows up, the pattern shows up very nicely, kind of little flowers. There's more color work coming at the toe. Right now I'm at I did the heel flap and heel turn, and I'm at the gusset decreases. So I use a Chowgu red lace size 0. This pattern was meant for, I think, a sport weight yarn. And one of the sizes was my typical 56 stitch cast on for the size 0, for the size of socks that I wear. So I'm using that pattern with the chart and knitting the non-colorwork section in the size 0. And then the colorwork section, I am knitting in a size, I think this is a size 1, so a 2.55 millimeter. Size 0 is a 1 millimeter needle. Because Colorwork tends to kind of, it's tighter. So if I would have knit this all in the size 0, there would be an obvious tight section on here. So that is that. So this has been really fun. I've been kind of craving knitting this. I know in previous episodes I have said that I wanted to cut back on the amount of sock knitting that I was doing, but I really enjoy it. And part of the reason why I wanted to cut back is because sometimes using these small needles hurts my my left thumb. I do knit left-handed, but I also have to use my thumbs for horse chores. So a lot of, wheelbarrow, farmyard work, stuff like that. So I'm just trying to integrate other projects in besides the sock yarn. But I love hand knit socks. I really feel satisfied with the number of garments that I have, and definitely the number of scarves and cowls and hats that I have. But socks are really probably the one thing that I'm going to wear and wear out, and can never have enough pairs of socks. This is the last project. This bag was also made by my mom. So just very simple drawstring bag. This one's lined, and these work really well. I love the drawstring because they don't get caught. This yarn doesn't get caught in the zipper. So what else has been going on this week? So since I last saw you, not that I see any of you, since you last saw me, was last Friday, and it rained. And it rained and rained and rained on Saturday. So I got to think about other projects that I want to do. I put together a couple projects. One is from Master Sock Knitting by Ann Budd. So there's a kind of a thigh-high sock. So I put that, I think it calls for either 7 or 9 colors of yarn with pretty high contrast. So I put together that kit for some future project. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's definitely going to be interesting because it goes over the knee and up your thigh. I mean, the number of cast on stitches is really kind of close to a hat. So, and then it tapers and narrows down once it gets to your calf and ankle. So I'm looking forward to that project. That's going to be a long-term project. I don't know when I'm going to cast that on. I think I've put together another project that's in a bag and ready to go. And that will probably be more sort of my daily knitting. So that was Saturday. Like I said, it rained all day. Sunday was beautiful. And I decided to go for a bike ride instead of riding my horse. And it was a great, lovely spring bike ride. So I have some footage of that at the end of this video that I'll show you. And one of them is just in case, spoiler alert, some of it's some skunk cabbage, which to me is really the harbinger of spring. I also I'm not sure where I lost that thought. So Monday, again, rain. And you'll see some more footage of me that I'm going to tack onto the end of this video. It's like, please stop raining. I am truly sick of it. But today is a beautiful day. I think I already mentioned this, that I am going to have a lesson with Bragi, and then I'm going to go horseback riding with a friend of mine this afternoon. So kind of a busy day. I did have the blood draw, and it turns out you can have black coffee before a fasting blood draw, which I wish I would have known, because it kind of would have made this morning a little more pleasant. And what else? What else happened this week? So it did rain most of the week, and I listened to how did I get this? So at where I work, there's a wellness website. The county that I work for is very concerned about employee retention, employee wellness, employee well-being, employee satisfaction. So they have a lot of resources on how to be healthy, and a healthy employee is a happy employee, I think is I can explain that as philosophy. So all that to say, I just happened to see a link this week of it's called the Body Electric, and it's an NPR I almost said webinar, but it's not. It's a podcast series. And it explores the idea, and this is scientifically backed, of taking exercise bites during the day. You've probably heard that sitting is the new smoking in terms of how harmful it is to your health. And many of us who are still employed, are, in other words, not retired, we sit all day for our jobs. We sit in front of our computer screens and our telephones, our cell phones and stuff like that. So the premise is that all that sitting is bad for you. All that technology is also not so great for you. So the challenge is to try to do 5 minutes of gentle movement, which can be a walk. It can be, maybe marching in place. It can be doing different things. Maybe if you like calisthenics, but nothing very hard. I mean, something you can do in your office clothes. Maybe even chair stretches if you have some mobility issues. So do that in bites, sort of like snacks. So exercise snacks, and try to do it every 30 minutes, or maybe even every hour if 30 minutes isn't possible. I work from home, so that is possible. I do have meetings. Sometimes I have very long meetings. So I decided to try it, and I set up my old bicycle on a bicycle trainer and set it in front of the double doors downstairs, very close to my office. And then I set a timer. So I tried that. And yesterday I had a 2-hour meeting. So, I was going to try to take at least 2 exercise snack breaks. I did not have to present. I had to listen and, ask questions where appropriate. So I turned off my camera when I needed to take my 5-minute exercise snack break, and just kept the headset on so I could hear what was going on, and I rode my bike for 5 minutes. So what I have learned so far is that doing your 1 hour of exercise, maybe before you go to work or after work, whatever it is not necessarily beneficial health-wise as it is to take these exercise snack breaks, in terms of some of the blood sugar and reducing risk of stroke, and some of those things that those of us of a certain age are concerned about. And there is some scientific evidence based on this. I will link the podcast in the show notes today. So look for that. It's called The Body Electric, and it's a podcast series by NPR. So you could use that as your search term if you want to. And there is also an opportunity. I don't know if the opportunity is ended with Columbia University on this. I have not signed up for that. I haven't had a chance to look into that. It would be, I should look into it, because I just had all my blood panels and metabolic panels tested, or at least the blood drawn for those tests this morning. So it would be really interesting to find out, if I can keep this up over 6 months, how that might change things. And at least for me, if I change something like that, it's like I have this motivation, and I start making this one change, other things in my life tend to change as well. Maybe I'm more thoughtful, or maybe I'm more present, maybe I'm less worried about stuff. I just tend to change a lot of things. So it's sort of the effect, I think, is magnified, and I hope to find that to be true. So that is my hypothesis. So I'm going to leave you with that and get on with my day. I hope you have a great week. We're supposed to have sun for at least 5 days now, which I'm supposed to get a hay delivery on Monday, and it would be really nice if the mud dried out in my yard so that the delivery truck can get out there. I should have some footage for you from our bike trip that we plan, and we are also hosting Easter dinner. So we plan to do a short ride, well, it's 20 miles to the campground and back Sunday morning, which really shouldn't take that long, and then host Easter dinner for my dad and his wife. So happy Easter if you celebrate, and have a great week. Tuesday, March 26th. I really wish it would stop raining. I know this is going to come back to make me eat my words in the summer when we're in a drought and it hasn't rained for weeks or a month or whatever. But frankly, I am tired of it. It's supposed to be nice on Friday. Hopefully that's the next time you see this, and I will be full of joy rather than despair about the rain. Just walking back up to the house from the barn. As you can see, it's pouring down rain. It's March 25th. This year, March has not come in like a lion and gone out with a lamb. It seems it has just been mostly a lion all month. I will say, I'm glad that I postponed the hay delivery by a week. Hey everyone, I am riding my bike on this beautiful spring day. Not sure if you can hear the frogs. This isn't really the pretty part of the tree farm. Probably showed this section to you while I was riding Odin in the past. It poured down rain yesterday, so there's a lot of mud here and there, which is one of the reasons why I opted to ride my bike. I'm not very far from where I just stopped, but I just wanted to show you the Puget Sound. This is really looking kind of southwest and west. And then more north. I don't know if you can see the steam coming up out there. Those are the Anacortes refineries. And then the big hill, that's Lummi Island, which is, I think, reservation land. Not sure about I think it's reservation land for the Lummi Nation. And that's that. And there's the gate that I'm going to ride out and get on pavement. The harbinger of spring, skunk cabbage.